Listen up, get ready, I'm not gonna take no more. There's a revolution, a revelation going on in my soul. Buckle up, get ready, we're not gonna sit back.
Welcome back to Live from the Heartland for the week of May 22nd, and we are recording it on May 20th, a couple days early. Our next guest is someone who is no stranger to the show, longtime political activist, political analyst, the one and only Don Rose. We're so grateful to have him with us on a monthly basis. And how are you doing today, Don?
Well, I would be doing a lot better if certain things had happened, but I have an outlook on a couple of items.
Well, start us off with what's close to your heart, so to speak.
Well, let's go with the most immediate news. Euan Hague was defeated, as expected. Something interesting is happening in Texas, and for some reason or another, Trump has endorsed Paxton in the runoff with Cornyn. And Paxton it's hard to say with Texas, but he's as close to a loser as we can see. Tallarico has been defeating him in polling by 3 or 4 points. And if he wins, with Trump's backing, I don't know why he bothered to do this. He could have slipped away and said they're both good guys. But I think we have a serious opening in Texas in Tallarico versus Paxton, assuming that Paxton does win. Polling has shown it, but, well, it's Texas and anything can happen. But I was most pleased by that outcome. Some of the others didn't happen. We thought we could flip a couple of Supreme Court seats in Georgia, but that didn't happen. It's no loss. I mean, they already had those seats.
Can I ask about the Texas race? Because after Massey lost his primary, he immediately voted for war authorization legislation in the Senate. And I'm wondering, do you think if Paxton beats Cornyn could rebel in the Senate and not change sides, but vote with the Democrats against Trump sometimes?
Oh, I'm sure he will. Now that he's a very lame duck, he'll probably vote what they call a conscience. Hasn't had much of a conscience for all these years he's been in there, but yeah, he will do, I think, what several of the other lame ducks have done. People who are either retiring or have been defeated, and make some what would have been daring votes against Trump there, but don't know what they are, and we don't know whether there will be the kind of votes where they are definitive or you still need to get 67 votes. But yeah, for 6 months, you will still be the senator and still have the opportunity to stick it to Trump now and then.
That would be wonderful. Don, let's stick with the Senate a little bit, because there's a lot of races. There's some that we're trying to protect, like in Michigan, at least the Democrats holding a seat there. And we have a competitive race, it looks like, in Ohio. Iowa even is coming into play. You've talked about Texas. There's some question about, does Democrats have hope with the independent Dan Osborne in Kansas? Alaska, we have Patola. She's a first Native American congressperson from up there, and she is running for the Senate. What any things you have a lot of hope for, or not so much hope for?
Well, I think all of these, I have the greatest amount of hope in Ohio, where Sherrod Brown has already been a senator there for a long time. He's well known. His opponent is not well known. So I believe we will win back Ohio. I think that's our strongest one. I think we will also retain Ossoff in Georgia. He's been a very popular guy. He's brilliant. He's one of the best speakers in the whole Senate. We don't see a lot of them because his other Senator Warnock gets an awful lot of attention, and Warnock's a terrific guy. But Ossoff is, well, as I see, one of the best talkers we've got. And I'd like to hear him talk more often, meaning no disrespect to Warnock. Some of these other cases, these are all possibilities. Going for the independent in Nebraska is a brilliant idea. The woman who won the Democratic primary immediately dropped out so that Democrats could vote for the independent. These are all, and goodness, and Maine looks good, although it's so controversial. But cumulatively, I can't, other than from what I've seen of Sherrod Brown, I can't make a lot of optimistic predictions. But these are the races that, surprisingly, and particularly due to Trump's dropping numbers, have made it possible to take the Senate. If we talked about taking the Senate 6 months ago, they would have said we were nuts. And today there is a path. There is not just one single path, but there's one or two paths to taking over the Senate, and I think it's a distinct possibility. Of course, we've got several months to go, and we don't know how all of these redistrictings and backstabbings and Lord knows what are going to affect the race. But as of this moment, it still looks to me like we are likely to take over the House, and there's a good chance, as I say, a couple of paths to winning the Senate. So in that regard, we can be somewhat optimistic. I'm not making this as a prediction right now, but I'm trying to show you the way.
With all the messing around with redistricting, everyone's, that the House looks, well, who knows what some of the districts are going to be. We're probably seeing, a net. There's this effort to depose, obviously, the long-term African-American Senator Jim Clyburn in South Carolina by cracking his district, right? So I think there's the full extent of the gerrymandering is yet to be seen.
That's true. And that racial gerrymandering is the most devastating thing that's happened to us. It's hard to say what is the worst thing the Supreme Court ever did. but what it has done here is institutionalized Jim Crow laws.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, there's quite a number of precedents, right? From Plessy versus Ferguson to Dred Scott. I mean, there's a lot of terrible rulings by the Supreme Court throughout history, but this one ranks up there, I think.
I would say it's among the top 3 or 4, but they've all been going in the same direction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's part of a bunch. But to my mind now, the worst thing that's happened is that we now have, what I would just call crime pays. We have approved this absurd triple dealing where Trump has arranged for his own case to be dropped and for his own people to approve an absurd $1.776 slush fund. It's all it is. This is probably, it's hard to say what is the worst piece of corruption that the Trump administration has perpetrated, but I would say this is the biggest and most horrible piece of corruption a Supreme Court and an administration have ever pulled off. We are going to be able to, even though they dodge it, they don't deny it. This gives Trump the opportunity to make cash payments to all those people who stormed the Capitol, trying to destroy the vote in 2026 and 2025, I should say, and people who were convicted of beating policemen are now going to be rewarded because their claim will be that they were being harassed by the Biden administration. Well, as we know, the Biden administration is what's caused all the problems. It's a fantasy.
There is some pushback, though, right? I mean, Thune, who is the head guy in the Senate for the Republicans, he pushed back a little bit on this. And I saw today that the Capitol Police are suing, too. So let's have some hope on that. I'd like to switch a little bit to, it seems like the Democrats are supporting in races, local races, congressional races, and primaries, supporting progressives, whereas the Republicans are going a lot with the MAGA people, the so-called Make America Great movement there. And I'm wondering how you think this might play out in the elections coming up, where independents will probably play a very key role.
Well, I would say, as I've said before, I don't see a uniform policy because there are going to be areas where a progressive is the desired and most likely winner. Certainly when you're looking to replace Jerry Nadler in New York, you're going to get a progressive, whether it turns out to be the Kennedy person, Schlossberg, or not. I don't want to get into that particular race. But there are other races around the country where the proper approach is an independent-minded moderate. I've been at odds with some of my fellow analysts here who say we want a uniform policy, and I believe we need a different policy in different areas. There are some places where you want to have a more independent type, and you don't want a super progressive. There's places AOC does wonderfully where she runs, but you're not going to elect an AOC in other places of the country.
Well, Don, you just mentioned AOC, and I saw a poll that she was the most favored potential Democratic candidate for president. And that would seem like a real long shot to me. I'm wondering if you have any, in your observations about what's going on, who you think are some front runners and likely possible candidates for the presidential nominations by the Democrats.
Well, right now, there's a number of people we could suggest as being potential and plausible candidates. I think Chris Murphy, Connecticut, is one likely candidate. We have three or four. Interestingly, we have three or four Jewish candidates from Pritzker and maybe Rahm Emanuel and the governor of Pennsylvania.
Josh Shapiro, right?
Yeah.
Shapiro and Jared Polis. These are all plausible candidates, but I have a hunch it's going to be somebody we're not thinking about right now. It's like, Barack Obama, except for those of us who were watching his ascent very carefully in Illinois, he seemed to come out of nowhere. And I think the candidate for 48th presidency could very well be somebody who we haven't given much consideration to. The governor of Kentucky, Beshear, another plausible candidate. But the movement, once we get into that mode of seeking a candidate, seeking a new face maybe or an old face, that's when we'll have a much better idea of what's going on.
Don, we got 3 minutes left, and I'm going to switch here and ask, you have any insights and thoughts about various people who are positioning themselves to run for the 2027 February 23rd mayoral election here in Chicago? I know Quigley is talking about it, a number of people. Johnson, in my opinion, has gotten better with the advent of ICE, and he's still holding a strong line around taxing and stuff. Any thoughts that you have on the upcoming mayoral race, which is a little over a year away?
Well, the lead candidate, as far as we can see right now, I'm blanking on his name. He's the Secretary of State.
Giannoulis.
Giannoulis. He's going all in, and as of now, I would say he is probably the most likely lead. Can somebody else come up? Can the union rehabilitate Johnson? Will the union drop Johnson? Will Johnson want to run again? That's kind of a mishmash up there. But if I had to put $1 down, I would say look for Janulius. Not a personal favorite of mine, but certainly a very logical candidate.
Well, Don, I want to thank you for joining us once again. I hope we're going to see you again next month.